Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're now ready to begin our Facilities Committee meeting for this evening. The expectation is that we go through the agenda items that we have presented this evening and have whatever discussions that are necessary for this evening and hopefully finish up within an appropriate time and get us out here in a decent time. Let me first start by saying thank you all for being here this evening to join us as we have a little discussion and to talk about the points that we have on our agenda for this evening. May we please pause and for a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Again, thank you all for joining us tonight. This meeting is held in accordance with the Freedom of Information Act. The news media has been notified and a copy of the agenda has been made available to the public. This meeting is open to the public and the public is welcome to attend in person. All persons wishing to attend the meeting by virtual means may do so via YouTube Sumter School District Board meetings and Sumter School District Facebook page. Vision. Sumter School District is committed to educating, empowering, and enriching the lives of all students to reach their full potential. Mission. Sumter School District is committed to providing a safe, nurturing, and high-quality educational environment that supports diversity and equips students for local and global success. Tonight, in our meeting, we have yours truly, the chair of the Facilities Committee, myself. We also have Ms. Tyra Johnson, who's joining us as a board member. Mr. Mac McLeod, is not here with us this evening. We have our subcommittee members, Mr. Goodman, Ray Goodman, who's here. Thank you for being here tonight. And Mr. Peter McCollan, who's here with us. I got it right? Kind of, sort of? Okay. Okay. All right. I'm still working on it. We don't meet enough. All right. Okay, so thank you for being here as well. We also have our administrative staff that's with us this evening. Mr. Cato, who's ready. Mr. Myers, who's here. Ms. Spearman, our superintendent, Dr. William Wright. And she's stepping in tonight for Ms. Galloway. And doing a pretty good job. For Miss Scott, and it is Miss Galloway. All right, so thank you for being here tonight as well. Ladies and gentlemen, we're just going to go as outlined straight down this agenda, and any questions from this committee we can do so, but I think we're going to allow the administration to lead us tonight for this agenda. Kind of calls for some updates, or plenty updates that I see here for the 6 items that we have placed on our agenda tonight. So we'll start with the first order of business and calling this meeting to order. And at this time, this meeting is now called to order. Item number 2, approval of the agenda. If we could take a look at the agenda, and without any objections, upon consensus, the agenda can stand approved. Hearing none, the agenda now stands approved. Item number 3, 3.1, approval of consent agenda items. It as well, without any objections, can stand approved upon consensus. And so hearing none, the consent agenda now stands approved. Item number 4, review of facilities. We're going to start with 4.1, Crestwood High School football field updates. And Dr. Wright, I turn it over to you. And okay, all right, thank you.
Mr. Facilities Committee Chair and Dr. Reagan and members of the committee. Tonight, most of the presentations that will be given from a combination of the three staff members you see seated around. Mr. Chris Cato is Director of Maintenance and Facilities. Mr. Samuel Myers, Executive Director of Operations, and there might also be some occasion for input from Mrs. Shatika Spearman, who is CFO. Mr. Chair, kind of like you said, I will be directed by their presentations and will be ready to chime in if I need to, but they have the information and are prepared at this time. So I think we'll turn it over to start with to Mr. Cato and go kind of down the list, and we'll entertain any questions as needed. Okay, all right.
This is on the additions to the Maywood field that we had done so far.
We're on 4.1.
Crestwood is first. Yeah.
Crestwood.
Okay, I'll go ahead and start with that process.
All right. Right. I'll direct us through the agenda, Mr. Chair, if that's your pleasure. So go ahead with Crestwood first, please.
All right, that'll work. And, good evening, everyone. The updates on the Crestwood High School football field. Our solicitation for bids has been distributed, and the closing date is February 22nd of 2024. We have a pre-bid process that's scheduled for Thursday, February 8th, which is tomorrow. We will be meeting with those persons who will be making those bids on that process. And we do have additional updates that are going to be forthcoming. So that's where we are right now. We're waiting on those bids to return. And when we meet tomorrow, we'll be meeting with the persons who are making those bids, and we'll answer any questions that they may have, and we'll bring back additional information after that time.
Mr. Myers,
Yeah.
who's all, I guess, involved with this process in terms of bidding and the layout? So can you tell me what's up
Sure.
for bid? Yes,
Sure.
sir.
I can't tell you the persons who are bidding on it because when it goes out.
Yeah, I'm not asking for that.
Oh, okay.
No.
Okay.
I wanted to know what are they bidding on? What is it? Is it?
Okay. Okay. They will be bidding on. There's a process to redo the football field, but this initial bidding process is for the drainage itself. Once the drainage has been bidded on accordingly, then everything else falls in with that. The preparation of the field, along with that is a small part of that also is bidding on the reworking of a softball field with the drainage on the softball field. That's a mandatory piece because it's a part that's been there for a while, and we need to get the softball field in check. Mr. Cato, myself, Ms. D. Cook, who is our procurement specialist, Ms. Spearman, Dr. Wright, we all come together and we take a look at the entire process, and we've been doing that as we've been meeting over and over again and putting things in place. And we've met with the administration and the athletic director and the head coach at Crestwood, and we'll be providing them with an update after the pre-bid process tomorrow. And we will keep them in the loop.
So, in other words, are we looking like there's going to be a football stadium for the fall for Crestwood High School over there, just like what Lakewood has? Is that what we're working on? We're just working to redo the...
No, we're looking to have a complete stadium. Yes.
And just to, Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
Just to clarify, it's just the drainage that we're looking at right now, that the bids are coming in for right now.
Well, when the bids come in for the drainage, that sets the stage for everything else.
Everything else.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Is it important to know what everything else is, or some of what everything else is now, or should we just wait?
I mean, if the answer is available, you can ask it.
Well, the everything else is, once the drainage is there, that's the biggest part of the process.
Right.
Then you can move forward with getting the field prepped the way it needs to be prepped.
So field prep
Yes.
would be a part of that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Now, will there have to be any land clearing or anything? We don't have to clear any land or anything like that.
The field itself will have to be completely stripped.
Okay.
Yes.
But additional land,
No additional land, no.
right, we've got the land cleared that we would need
Right.
to use.
Or stadium seating and all that.
Yes.
I think
Yes,
that's
sir.
what we're saying, right?
We will have to incorporate bleachers, press box, scoreboard.
One, okay,
Yes, sir.
just one question. So pretty much the successful bidder will be the prime contractor for the
Yes.
whole project.
Yes.
That's,
Now, a couple of questions. Ultimately, are you looking at a grass field or an artificial field?
Well, we've discussed both, but getting the drainage in is the first part of where we need to go.
And also, when I see football, love football, love the game. But I know at the high school level, you're looking at, what, 4 to 5 home games a year? I would hope that that the utilization on the field is going to be more than 4 to 5 games a year. I would hope that would be open to, to the women's soccer team, to the women's field hockey team, to the boys soccer team.
It will.
And make sure that the band can get out there, and so that they're all in lockstep and putting on a good show.
Yes, sir. No one is going to be eliminated.
Sounds good.
Yes, sir.
one other question, is it the artificial turf is gonna be like an alternate bid, or y'all just gonna settle on whether it's gonna be artificial or just regular turf, or are you gonna get an alternate bid for the finished surface of the field?
We haven't decided on that yet. We do have
could get
engineers who are taking a look at that, and design specialists. And they will be letting us know very, very soon in reference to that.
So because of my background, I'll take this one, Mr. Myers. Because of my background, I have asked us to look at both alternatives. Obviously, turf fields cost more on the front end, but there's some advantages of upkeep and maintenance and things of that nature that make that option attractive. So, of course, we know that if we choose to go in that direction, while we would be starting with Crestwood, we have two other high schools in the district that but we want to at least. I see Mr. Mills is here now. We want to at least look at those options and present them. So that's what we're in the process of doing right now. But those, of course, could be alternative bids depending on which way we go, to answer your question.
Mr. Chair, I have another question. What do we currently have at Lakewood and Sumter High in terms of the
Grass,
fields?
just
Okay.
grass, yes.
Okay.
And conference-wise, for all three schools, we would be in the minority.
Grass. Yeah, so it sounds like this is an opportunity to upgrade and
Yes,
kind of, okay.
yes, it is.
Also help with maintenance, kind of free up some
Absolutely.
stuff.
Yeah, wouldn't have to worry about water either. Well, not like that.
There are some significant advantages to it. We won't have to worry about spraying pesticides, aligning the field in itself. Those savings would be great because the cost is can be quite hefty when you're continuing to do that on a regular basis. So
we can wrap this one up, but I do have one more question, and I guess it's with the finances. Just to recap, we currently have $500,000 allocated to this project. Okay. All right. So is that going to get the job done for all that we listed?
No, we have, Chairman, we actually had come up with an option for that in the event that we do go the turf route. What we plan to do is combine those balances shown for Lakewood, for Crestwood, and for Sumter High, sorry. And that should get us about $1.5 million. And then in the future bond proceeds, start with the next school, the next high school, and start doing that, depending on how much this will cost us. So we would request a transfer from this, as a recommendation to go to the board for the amounts that we have. So we will utilize the funds we have, and then in future bond proceeds, request for the next two schools.
Right. Okay. All right. If I think of any, I'll come back to it. All right. Any further questions on 4.1? Any further questions? All right.
4.2, I think, is the Maywood project
Right.
at this point, so,
that is correct.
all right?
Yes, sir. I apologize about jumping ship a while ago, getting a little ahead of myself.
All right.
What we have done so far, because they were in much need of it in that area, I pressure washed the field house and the boys' locker room and the press box and the home and visitor side bleachers and the surrounding concrete. They're all very dirty. We refurbished their track. They just basically had an area that had been neglected out there, and it was just grass. So I came in, we put clay down for that, and gave them a track area. Put new speakers and a microphone for the press box, because it had sit out there and it was just, everything was kind of decrepit from just sitting. And then also the field house, the cornice and everything and various places in the roof were rotted. When I looked at that, it needed to be replaced, so I replaced the roof on it and had the field house, everything done around that. There are 2 toilets currently in that field house. We did some plumbing work in there, getting them up to where they were usable. And we painted that field house and also painted the press box inside and out in the goal posts. I've created a locker room for the girls in the brick building beside that. I put down new carpet in there and painted the walls in there to give them a separate area from the football field house, which the boys have been using. And we put a new HVAC unit in the press box, and I've also got new wall hung units for that locker room area for the girls and also for the boys' locker room for the field house. And then we had some miscellaneous, just routine maintenance stuff. I had to clean up the trees around the area. They were in bad shape, just kind of leaning over. And the lids to the old septic tank out there were broken where a vehicle had drove over them. I had to have that took out and replaced. And when I replaced those lids, I actually built a safety fence around the lids to where no one can drive over that again. And then of course we have the new scoreboard going in, which we have at all the middle schools. But Artie Davis will be on this side, on this one.
There was an attachment that was on here. Are you going to go over that, or that's what you went over?
As far as the proposed new building, yes, sir. I've got some. Now they're not a formal bid. They are just kind of general quotes about 3 different types. I have one we could look at as a CMU block building, which is cement block, kind of similar to what Furman's field house. You've been out to Furman to their track, or their football field rather. We have that option, or we could do a wood frame building with steel girder siding, or I'm also looking at a lower cost one, which would be it's a metal frame building, but it'd have insulated top and sides, and I would have it put up and then have the interior done. If you're looking at those for the CMU block building, you're looking around 425,000. If you go with the wood framing and ribbed steel exterior, you're looking around 375 to 400,000. The other one, we're looking at anywhere from around maybe 150 on up to around 300,000, somewhere in there is what. And those, it could run a little less, could run a little more.
Okay. Do we have any questions?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I do have a question. So I didn't even realize that there were female facilities out there. I thought it was just boys, and that was my misunderstanding, because I thought that was the purpose of the new, considering a new building.
Yes, ma'am.
So what is the purpose for consideration for the new building?
The building itself, because if you're having track meets out there, which was why we established the area for the girls' locker room, because we didn't want them having to go in, into the areas with the boys at the same time and everything. But with that, in that building where that is, there's one single bathroom in there. And in the current field house that's out there now, there's only 2 bathrooms. If you have any event whatsoever, we're not prepared to have the amount of bathroom facilities for the amount of people that would be there. So with this area, it would not only give them enough adequate bathroom facilities with the ADA compliant, because you would have handicap stalls in there also. You would have that, but you would also have a concession stand in the center of it.
Okay.
So it's not just bathrooms. It was, it was something to benefit, the kids and also, any spectators that come out at the same time, and it would, keep us up to date on that.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Just a quick question, Chris, how big a building are we?
What I've looked at is 55 by 22, I believe.
Going back to the ledger, and I guess this is just for clarification, the clay for refurbishing the track area.
Yes, sir.
Well, before I ask this question, let me ask this. The vendors, were there a bidding process that took place because all of these vendors on here, we didn't have to, procurement process, we didn't have to do any of that to get these folk to do the work, because here, for that, the clay for refurbishing track areas was done by the vendor that's listed on there.
Yes, sir. L.H. Stokes and Son. They had originally, and it was actually, I think there was a change order to that, because it was originally under the $10,000 amount. But when they did it and spread it out, we had actually needed more, and that's why it ran over the $1,128 more.
So there was no bidding process to have this work done, any of this work?
No, sir. Well,
Because it was
in with procurement, as long as you're under $10,000, you can use one single vendor.
okay.
And which is what and when these amounts came in, I was under that amount, so I went with that. But like I say, with the track for it, with the clay for the track though, there were 2 separate quotes. The 2 separate quotes. The first one I had was under that, and that's what we went with, and they were doing it. But once they got into it, they saw they needed more clay, and they were already into it then. So we just did a change order to make up the difference.
Okay, and from my understanding, we do have funds, or we have funds allocated through capital projects money, I believe, for tracks. I think it was $1,047,000 something. But this is saying that we use general fund money of $11,000 to complete this project. Why do we not use the money already allocated for the track? And
Those funds were allocated for the high school. high school tracks.
Only the high school tracks?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, so that money is earmarked for track replacements, rubberizing, redoing tracks, because all three of our high school tracks need to be done at some point. Obviously, we're moving toward Crestwood having a new one, but the other two will need to be done. And as I tried to allude to in the last meeting, you all might remember, the authorization to do this initial work was by me, and it was primarily because of time sensitive. It would have taken us a significant amount of time to get, and the work that we did, the pressure washing, the upgrading of the track and things of that nature, the goal was to get those done in use for football season, particularly with some events that they had going on there. So again, this kind of capital outlay expense is really not atypical for a school district of our size. And so I asked our folks to get going on the work and keep track of it and so forth and so on. In my mind, the building that we're talking about and even the track work at the other at the high schools would be separate work from this initial work that we're alluding to. We do work at fields all the time. What makes this a little bit different is the fact that this field, for various reasons, had been neglected for some years. So that's why we probably spent a little bit more on this field initially than we would anywhere else, but it was to simply kind of get us springboarded to catch up. The building need is strictly to get us Title IX compliant. I mean, that's really the
Okay.
short answer to that. So,
Yes, sir.
all right.
Any other questions? Any other questions? Now, I do have a concern about the general fund money being used, because I don't really see, well, not necessarily being used. I don't really see where did it come from out of the general fund? Like what line item or what account did we pull this money right here from? General maintenance. Okay. Yes, ma'am. All right. Any other questions? All right. We can move to 4.3, district's facilities, Mr. Superintendent.
Okay, Mr. Myers is going to get going on that portion of our presentation. Mr. Myers?
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Excuse me, Mr. Myers, when do you think you will have something in writing in terms of a timeline?
That's what we're working on now.
Right, when do you think you'll have that? Because I know the goal is to have all the work done by the time school starts next year. So I know there is a lot, I've heard of many things with plumbing and stuff, things of that nature. So I'm just curious to know when we might complete like the reviewing of these things.
I can't give you an exact time at this moment, but just as soon as we get together with our team, which is going to be within the next week, we should have something by next week and looking very closely at that.
Okay, and will all the evaluations be done internally, or are we bringing in outside sources to help us with
Well,
that?
when we get notices from the schools, we go in and we take a look with our team. We do have other outside groups that are taking a look at some of those things, because those things, some of that we cannot do.
Right.
Because of the volume of the work or the details, skills that are involved to do that. For example, we do have grease traps that must be pumped. That's something we cannot do. We have to outsource that with a company that can pump those grease traps completely, as we did today. So those kind of things we're looking at, and we know it's high priority, and so we're working to make sure we can have that done within the next week.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
Do you have a list of all this work broken down by location? Because when I look at this here and I see district facilities, I mean, that's kind of like an indefinitive term. And I mean, how many locations are we talking about? How many separate projects are we looking at? I see, HVAC needs. That can be anything from replacing filters to replacing chillers and whole units. And it's kind of, it kind of like leaves a lot to the, to the imagination. Is there any place where anybody can even go to look and to see, what's coming up on the agenda, or what's on the list, and what the priorities are?
Well, that's what we're working on, and we wouldn't want you to take a look at something that's incomplete, and we're trying to get it to that point. And as you mentioned, it is extensive, and that's no secret. We want to make sure that we're being transparent with that, and there are some issues at our schools. So we are looking at HVAC. We're looking at all of the other areas as well. But to answer your initial question, there is a recording system of our school dues where all of that goes into that area, and it's broken down by crafts or subject areas, if you will, plumbing, HVAC, carpentry, etc. So we're looking at all of those different areas, and we're working to outline what needs to be done.
Okay. And one other question, again, this is, and I don't know if I'm out of line with it or not. I know that there has been some history with the board. I know that there has been, some history with consolidating of the different school districts. And how much of what you're dealing with is stuff that was just, deferred and just, kicked down the can, for lack of a better term? And are we talking like a really huge game of catch up here, or what are we dealing
Well,
with?
from the point of consolidation, that's not, I guess, throwing any.
And I'm not throwing darts.
Well,
And,
but
yeah,
my point is,
Yeah.
is going to be, it's not throwing darts, but
Sure.
we inherited a lot of different things.
and that's what I'm
And-
asking.
And I think that in itself is a fair assessment.
Sure.
In that we've had some issues with some things. And the most that I'll say is that
Yeah.
for whatever is there, we inherited that,
Yeah.
and we're taking it on and we're making it work.
Sounds good.
And one thing that you can take a look at it's the listing of all of our schools, and we'll make that public to you, and it should be out there already about the age of the school. Some schools we have that are 65, 70, and the study that was done last was done in 2018, so you're talking about 5 more years of schools that came along with the consolidation. So we're going to continue to do what we do to make things better, and that's, I'll leave it at that.
And are we also talking about making sure that the schools are upgraded as far as technology goes? 'Cause,
Absolutely.
I mean, when I hear that, most of these schools are older than me, and the only technological requirement back in that day was a 110 outlet in the front of the classroom and in the back of the classroom. The back of the classroom, in case you wanted to show a film strip or a movie, in the front in case we ever got overhead projectors. So, are we maintaining that?
Yes, sir.
or
We've come a long way since then, and we do have more outlets in the front and the back now. So
But are we-
and
are
the
we-
side, right?
Are we, I mean, technology-wise, do we have enough, bandwidth at the school? Do we have enough, computers at the school and access at the
Yes, sir.
schools?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
I would say, if I may, though, while the answer to the question is yes, we do, that becomes an increasingly tougher challenge as time goes on, as new things are invented, and so something as simple as the installation of IP stations, for instance, these that requires, drilling into 60-year-old concrete to hang it. And so when you do things like that, sometimes you get solid block and sometimes you get disintegrated block. So we're running into those kinds of things because of the age of our buildings. But as Mr. Myers said, I mean, we have to kind of plow through that and make it work. But is it more challenging to deal with a district where the school buildings average an age of about 67 years old, as opposed to one that has kept up with modern? Sure, it's more challenging, but we try to plow through as best we can.
Question, I think y'all have your own HVAC, well, you got some staff that does HVAC, right? But I assume with your bigger units, y'all have maintenance agreements with other, so that should help out with a lot of the stuff that needs to be on this list, so you're kind of ahead of the game with that.
All right, any other questions from the committee members on the updates from the district facility? Hearing none, we'll go to 4.4, capital project updates.
Okay, that would be Mrs. Shatika Spearman.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
As far as an update on our capital projects, we know that with our bond, we get bond proceeds every fall and spring. And so we allocate that to meet the maintenance and IT needs that the district has. So the first bond, the oldest one that we have remaining funds on, of course, is the R.E. Davis allotment for $388,651, which is still holding steady in completion with that. The next one, 522, as you know, we jumped from 520 to 522. That means 521 is completely utilized and all funds have been spent for that one. For Fund 522, what we have remaining to do is roof replacement. Well, not roof replacement. We actually finished that, and painting. So we have painting remaining on the 522 bond for those locations, 14, 17, 39, and 42. I didn't bring my key for those, but those are the allocations that we have remaining for that. On our 523, what we have left out of that, again, is roofing and furniture. And if you'll notice, they're going to be repeated items that we're just going to consistently always need. We're going to need furniture. We're going to have to maintain these roofs. And so those things you're going to see repeated. So after 523, I'm going to just hit some highlights on the next bond, which is our 524 bond that we received in the spring of 2020. And we have about remaining balance of $386,000 of that. Most of that is the walkie-talkie radios that we had allocated, and we are in progress for completing those. We did have defibrillators that we had, and there was a small balance of $13 left over for that, but that project is complete. As well as the Crestwood ball field amount, the balance to be used for the athletic field project that we had back in 2020. There were some things we needed to do with that we allocated, and so we'll reissue that balance. Janitorial equipment, we have dollars left for that, and that is in the process of being completed and ordered. For our 525 bond, which we received in the fall of 2020, we have about $49,000 left on that one. Some ongoing projects we have is testing for our environmental testing with the oil spill that we had. We always have to keep testing that, so that'll be a repeat item that you'll see on bonds as well as bond proceeds for us as well. And then our surveillance and access, always to update that. That is ongoing as well. So we do anticipate 525 being utilized and completed very, very soon. Any balances that we have remaining after a project, maybe a quote came in lower than it did, we reallocate within that fund so that we can maximize those dollars. Our 526 bond we received in the spring of 2021, we have about $3.9 million of that left, and that really is due to a glitch in the system for Smart Fusion that we utilize. Once the HVAC system replacement that you see to the tune of $1.5 million, that project is nearly complete. But for some reason we had a glitch in the system, but once we hit that purchase order as closed, it will disappear. That work is just about completed. So that is a system error. Another thing that we have ongoing in this fund that we received in 2021 are some engineering assessments that we have for our Alice Drive elementary location. And another ongoing project, of course, is our access control items. That is ongoing with our IT department, who normally takes care of that. So those are the ongoing projects for 526. Our bond 527 that we received in the fall of 2021, we have about $3.6 million left on that. A big part of that, of course, is that $1,047,000 that Dr. Reagan talked about for our athletic fields that we allocated for our high schools. So that's in the planning stage, as Mr. Myers gave that update. Carpeting, as you see that we have about $11,000. We have $11,000 left. We also have funds for flooring in ESSER, and so we wanted to utilize those funds first, and then we'll completely use out the other funds in the capital projects. You'll see carpeting and flooring as repeated items in these bonds as well. Another ongoing project, of course, is our repairs and maintenance. We are always going to have that at the different locations for our schools. So that is definitely ongoing for 527. For our fund 528, we received those funds in the spring of 2022, and $503,000 is left for that. Of course, we have the solicitation for the work out for Crestwood Stadium on that. That's about $212,000 remaining on that. The security door project, that project is ongoing. That account will also clear out once the purchase order is closed. When we do charge these items, we have to make sure that we do it based on the location, and that location has a specific number. And so once we get those finalized, we will have that project as zeroed out. Some items that are remaining on this bond are our teacher and staff desktops, teacher laptops, and a little bit of Chromebooks. Again, student Chromebooks will be a repeated item as well because we'll always need to update those. As we get into our later bonds, you're going to see that we have more money available because we just received those funds, and so we try to use the oldest funds first for those items. For our 529 bond, we received that in the fall of 2022. We have approximately $3.5 million left on that bond amount, proceeds. Some items that we have ongoing is our the lane renovations. We have those items as a line item that is marked as ongoing. Again, flooring is in this bond as well, and again, we want to utilize our extra funds first. Our project is completed at the annex, so that balance of $24,000 will be reallocated to another project within this bond. So that came under our estimate. Another one is our assessments for our ADA playground equipment. Those are in process. The second page of our 529 bond, we have some environmental sensors that are left to do for those that were allocated. And also in this bond, we allocated funds for the fine arts department. And so they have some balances left in this as well. In this bond, we also allocated other facility needs, because you never know what happens or comes up for the buildings that we have. So sometimes we will allocate a generic amount to utilize for other facility needs. And so that's about $3.5 million left on that bond. The next to last bond that we have is our 530 bond, which is we received that in the spring of 2023. We have approximately $4.7 million. Again, as you see, again, HVAC replacement. That's always going to be most likely a line item for what we have. We also have softball backstops that are we are seeking quotes for. Our restrooms for softball is in progress. We have our Braille signs masters that we wanted to also utilize. That's in process. And our weapons detectors master is in this bond as well. So we will ask this body to recommend a transfer of funds for our active panels that our IT area would like to request. And so I'll talk about that after our last bond. But that is the fund that we will ask a transfer for 530 when we want to transfer to utilize those funds in a better way. Our most recent bond we received just in the fall of 2023, 531, we have approximately $7.5 million left in that. And so some ongoing projects that we've started is our flooring. Again, we're always using our flooring funds, mulch for playgrounds, our cafeteria seats. Those quotes, I think we may have already gotten those already. And then, of course, metal detectors, again, shown on this. And so we see that these projects are pretty much will be done because we just got that approved last semester in the fall of 2023. So out of this report, we're asking for an administration recommendation to request a transfer of actually that number of 195,000 just changed about 10 minutes ago. That request is for $360,000 to have active panels in our teacher classrooms. Active panels is a recommendation from our IT department. These panels are for the education of our students. It would enhance classroom flexibility, facilitating multimedia presentations and promoting interactive learning experiences for our students. This is an item that is on state contract, so that amount has been competed on our behalf, and so this is the request that we have. And our plan to take that $360,000, we would like to take it from, if you go back to Bond 530, we would take it from the student Chromebooks, which has a remaining balance of $691,000, and take it from there and place it in the line below it, the Promethean boards and accessory line, which has a current balance of $523. And so that is the request recommendation that we have out of this project report.
You said it went from 195 to.
Right. There were some accessories and some installation because the request was just for the panels by themselves. But we've got to install, and there was some additional accessories that we needed from the original quote. And so I just received information that quote changed, and this is on state contract.
And this request is coming from the technology?
Yes.
Okay.
And what are those, I'm just seeking clarification, what are the active panels again?
These are height adjustable mounts that provide flexibility in classroom setup. They allow learning to take place with multimedia abilities, group activities, collaborative projects. It does make a better learning experience for our students and our teachers that will assist in instruction. These panels, again, like I said, they were on a state contract, and we have been looking at them for a while according to our IT area. Are adjustable. That's the piece that he said. They are adjustable mounts for our teachers, and our teachers can utilize these for customized learning. And so that is the request.
For lack of a better expression, Ms. Johnson, if I can simplify it a little bit, they are adjustable interactive boards. So,
Okay,
like this
right,
this board you have
Right.
here, except it is on a, I don't want to oversimplify,
that
but a
better?
sliding mechanism where
right,
kindergartners can access it as well as seniors.
okay,
That's pretty much the easiest way to explain it.
okay. And that's different from the Promethean board and,
Yes, ma'am. So historically in Sumter School District, our boards have been stationary. So what we have is what we have, or they might be on mobile. This is a mountable unit, if you will, that allows for adjustment for height.
okay.
It's kind of the latest and greatest, pretty much, I guess.
So Chair, I just want to ask one clarifying question. If the request is to move money from Chromebooks, I know you mentioned earlier that we always need Chromebooks. Is it just that we have a surplus there and we would still be able to get whatever Chromebooks are needed?
Absolutely. In our latest bond, we have approximately $2 million for Chromebooks in the 531 fund, and that is something we're going to constantly request and constantly have as a
Gotcha.
line item
Okay.
in the case that we need to replace.
Okay,
Absolutely.
okay.
Mr. Chair, you might remember before when we were talking about, you know, were our Chromebook numbers right and that kind of thing. So, you know, kudos to our folks for identifying, you know, the fact that we could move and be safe with moving some of those funds to take care of this need. It's going to be a game changer for our kids to be able to, you know, if I'm a 6-year-old, now I can access and interact, as opposed to having to reach and stand on something or whatever it was that we were doing before. So it's just going to make us a little bit more flexible in our instructions, pretty much what it is.
Are all students throughout the district issued Chromebooks?
Yes.
Now, on the Chromebook, are the students also using digital textbooks that are on the Chromebooks, or are they still being issued, you know, regular textbooks?
Yeah,
Both
yeah.
are going on.
Some of them they access from their computer.
Yes, sir. Depends on
Not to go too far off of the agenda, but going back to this capital projects update, you mentioned delaying. And I didn't put it on the agenda, but briefly, could you say what is still left? Because the money was, I think it was what, 64,000? I don't remember which.
Yeah, I kind of see it in different places.
I don't want to turn into a finance committee meeting, but can you just tell us what's going on or what's left to do in the Delane project that's currently, I know food service is currently there.
Correct.
Excuse me, could you tell us what's going on at Delane? I'm not sure.
Yes, sir, that's what I'm asking, so
Uh-huh.
we'll wait.
Well, I thought you might have gave him an option. Know what's going on.
Okay. Okay. The work that's being done at Delane, we're utilizing the building. Excuse me. We have moved the food service office into Delane, and it's fully operational, and they've been there for several months now. We've also worked to begin to move our IT unit, instructional technology unit, into that building, and Mr. Cato and the team have been working diligently to create office space to move them there. In addition to that, we're working to create a professional development center where we will be taking the space of the cafeteria and the gym and combining those two. We'll remove the wall and turn that into one big professional development center. Capacity could be up to about 550, 560. And that's what we're working on next after we've completed moving the IT group there. Once we've done that, we'll take a look at anything else that we may need to do. There isn't anything else on the listing as of now. We'll get with Dr. Wright and the team, and we'll look at what else needs to be done. But we have done quite a bit of work at the center. Grounds are being kept. As you know, the building was closed for several years, and we've reinstituted a lot of different things there, and we're very proud of the work that has been done, and we will continue to do that. There's been a lot of painting. We're working on flooring, carpet, and flooring, if you will, and just trying to get it in order. So it's an ongoing process, and we'll continue to be that way, and we'll continue to keep you updated on that. Dr. Wright, is there anything else?
Go to Chair Reagan's second part of his question about, I guess, what percentage to where you want to be versus where you're at, getting everything done.
Right now, I would say we're, with the work that's going on, we're right about maybe 75, 80% with the current work that's going on. And we haven't begun the third part of that yet, so can't give a timeline as to when that would be, but it's as soon as we finish one, we try to go ahead and look forward to see how long it's going to take us to do it. So please feel free to come out and take a look and see the work that's going on.
All right. Okay. Any other questions?
I
If
just,
not,
I
oh,
just
go
have a clarifying question, not to hold this up. Environmental spill, where was the environmental spill, the oil spill?
There was one at the old storage building, which was called Brun Hill. It used to be the old mechanic shop from the former school district. There were fuel tanks that were there, and they had to bring in a team to assess that, and they're continuing to do that. It's an ongoing project.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, and then Ms. Spearman, the last number beside like the bond number, there's a very last number of 44 or 09 or 42. Is that designated to a school?
Yes, those are our location codes.
Okay, could we get a copy of that just for
Absolutely.
the board members so that whenever we see this,
Okay.
if it doesn't have a actual school name, we can look at the list and know to what
in
school
the
it
past,
refers?
we've gotten that. So
Okay.
what happened was when we got a capital projects update, I guess the previous board asked for it by facility, yeah, by location.
Yep.
And so we've gotten those in the past, so that could kind of help what you're, so you can see what exactly Furman needs, what exactly Sumter High needs, so what's currently going on. All right. Okay. All right. Let's move along. 4.5, metal detectors update. If we have an update on the implementation process at this time, we can share that with this committee as well.
Okay. The weapons detection systems or metal detectors, those units were delivered to the following schools. Sumter High School received 4, Crestwood High School received 3, Lakewood received 3, Sassy, which is our alternative school, received 2, Career Center received 2, and Adult Ed received 1. We conducted a survey among the principals, and we asked them certain questions as far as are the metal detectors functioning optimally? And all of them responded yes. There was one that had a situation where one was not picking up things, and they had to make some adjustments with the sensors. Another question was how many prohibited items have been discovered. There were some issues with picking up mace, some vapes, some tactical vice grips, tools. There were cell phones, scissors, some sharp objects, knives, a couple of knives. Those kind of things have been detected through the units. And the units are designed to be set on knives, guns, or whatever it is. You can set it so sensitive that it'll pick up, I guess, a hairpin in your hair. But we don't want it that sensitive. We want to make sure of what we're looking for. And those are the items that we've picked up. So the systems are working. And some of the feedback from the students, of course, the students don't care for them. Staff members are feeling as though it's benefited them greatly, because even though it's slowing down the entry into the school, it's worth it. And we will continue to do our surveys and having our administrators to feel the pulse of the students, teachers, and even parents. So, and they do have different procedures that they use, and they're using staff members to assist with that as well as SROs.
Right, so I guess this is my question. Is there a universal policy that goes along with this? Have we set that in place, like this is what every high school is following? Like, I know at other high schools, there's a policy, a district policy in place that states that this is what happens when a metal detector is placed in the building. If it goes off, what you need to do, blah, blah, blah. It's a whole policy written. So do we have one of those, or we're working on that?
We're
Or
working
we left
on
it up
that.
to the high school administrators to put a policy at their own school in order?
They have working guidelines, and all of them have working guidelines. But the policy that you're referencing is one that's going to be in the making. And
Okay.
so we can get that together, and not having to reinvent the wheel, working with some of the other, I guess, varying districts with some of the ones that they have, and just putting it together and making sure we can utilize that and make sure it works. But as it stands right now, they are using the basics right now for operating the systems.
And you said that every principal have their own policy right now, or guidelines?
Guidelines. Correct, that's right.
All right. Any other questions?
Yeah, concerning the detectors. Now, full disclosure, I had the absolute honor and pleasure of being on staff at a brand-new middle school that opened up about 6 years post-Columbine. And it was a middle school with 5 buildings composing the campus, and the building was a fortress. There was only, a number of ways out, but one-way acting doors, but there was only one way in. Now, I see that you've got 4 metal detectors at Sumter High. What is in place to make sure that everybody only has one way in, but can get out in the case of an emergency? What steps have been taken to ensure that? Because it doesn't matter if you have a metal detector if you've got, all kinds of different ways in.
The entrance ways where those units are placed, they're placed to allow students to come in, and there is an exit in that same area. You have to see the space in order to understand that. And there are other exits that they may use to exit the building. So it's not blocked off where if something occurs that they would not have capacities to leave.
But steps have been taken to limit the entrances into the schools that have the detectors, so that everybody that walks in that building is funneling through, funneling through
Yes, sir.
The
detective.
same
Yes, sir.
area. Because the buses put the students off the same place.
Yes,
Yeah,
they
so
do.
they're going through.
They all go through that same area.
Okay.
All right, any other questions? Hearing none. 4.6, school visits. What we'll do as a committee, and we've been talking about this, I think at our last meeting. We'll start back what this committee used to do anyway, and that is travel to the schools, to go in and see the things that we're discussing around the table at these meetings. So I'll take it upon myself to put a schedule together and issue it to each and every one of us here on the committee. And we'll go and do a couple of visits with those administrators who are available. And we'll try to get to every facility possibly to walk through it and see some of the things that we are discussing, okay? All right. 5.1, recommendations for the board. Any committee members at this time have any recommendations that we would need to take back from this committee meeting to the full board? We heard of one that was brought forth from the technology department. Okay. All right. Hearing none. Okay, well, at this point, I disagreed the last time when the finance committee decided that they wanted this committee to do that. But it almost appears that the Excel sheet that was given, was that the cost analysis that we were waiting?
That was what was already done, and then
Okay.
There's a piece at the bottom that we can add to that.
Right.
Okay.
With the recommendations for the various other units to be established, which was the discussion before.
Which centered around what the board requested, which was a cost analysis
Yes.
for what, okay.
Yes, sir. We had that for 4 months.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. Well, I mean, at this point, I don't know if it's a recommendation from this committee. I mean, I think every board member at this point, the full board had already requested. So if we can just bring it forward.
Mr. Chair, I can just put it on the agenda.
Yep.
Ask them to
Yes,
put it
sir.
on the agenda. That's no problem.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I think that would be fine. Hearing none other, I will just give a thorough report from this committee. And I want to say thank you all before we go to number 6 for a job well done with the presentations tonight. Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. Thank you, Dr. Wright.
Yes, sir.
And Shelley as well. And thank you to the guests that are in the audience with us that's joining us tonight as well. Okay? We appreciate you. Let's go to the closing. 6.1. I think they already packing up. I gave my remarks, and so I'll hit the gap. All right? This meeting is now adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.